Hey everyone, I'm Pastor Alec,
I'm Eli.
and we are coming to the very end of Second Kings.
Yeah.
It's been quite the journey.
Oh yeah, it has. Man, it's been good.
So, all right. So, as we, come to the end of the monarchy in Judah and Israel, what have you been reading? What do you have for me today?
Reading about Josiah
Okay.
and chapter 22, verse 7. This guy. It's kind of said in it, but I want to kind of clarify a little bit. Did they? Okay, I'll read it first.
Yeah, go for it.
But they don't have to report how they. I'll read back a little bit. Have them pay the builders and those who work with wood. Have them pay those who lay stones. Also have them buy lumber and blocks of stone to repair the temple. But they don't have to report how they use the money that's given to them. That's because they are completely honest. Is there any reason he says that?
I don't know.
Is it just
Well,
kind of
it might be good to go back, to s- you know, to see what exactly is happening. So they want to repair the temple.
right?
That's what's happening here, right? So Josiah, if we go to chapter 22, verse 1, Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jedidah, the daughter of Adiah of Buzkath, and he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, and walked in all the ways of David his father, and he did not turn aside to the right or to the left. So this is like the last, really, the last good king of
Right.
Judah, right? You had Hezekiah, and he was a good king. Notice he also reigned from a young age, and then you had some bad ones, Manasseh, and then Amon, and they both were evil kings. And then Josiah comes in, and Josiah says, "You know what? The temple's fallen to pieces.
Right.
It's in disarray, and let's have some people come in and renovate it."
Right.
Right? And so, but no accounting shall be asked from them for the money that is delivered into their hand, for they deal honestly. I don't know what that means. I mean, I guess I know what it means in the sense that apparently he trusts these contractors.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Uh, so, so yeah, no, I don't know. That is interesting though.
Yeah, I was
I don't
kind of
think
wondering why it was put out there.
Yeah, but no accounting shall be asked from them for the money that is delivered into their hand, for they deal honestly. I mean, it could be a variety of reasons. I mean, it could be just as it is, they deal honestly.
Yeah.
They could also be like, hey, you know, I don't know. This is probably not a positive thing, but we really don't want to get out what bad condition the temple's in.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
that's
just
true.
do it and just clean it up because after the last couple kings, like it's not in good shape,
Right,
right?
yeah.
So let's just I don't know. I mean that would
Yeah,
be
no,
like
that makes
a lack
sense
of
too.
transparency or something. But
Right. Well, it's not something that's new, so it's not like they're the first ones to
Right.
hide something.
Yeah, that's right. And then it goes on, of course, to that they find stuff while they're
Right.
doing the
Well,
renovations.
yeah, it's when they were doing the renovation, they found the Book of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Is that from the Ark of the Covenant, or is that a different book?
No. Well, it's funny you say it that way because the Ark of the Covenant's talked about in the Book of the Covenant. This is like this is
Okay.
Moses. This is the writings of Moses.
Okay, all right.
This is like the Torah,
Okay, yeah.
right? So it's you could take it as either it's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy all together, or some people have thought maybe it's just Deuteronomy.
Now, what is that one about?
Deuteronomy is it's the last book of the Torah, or the Pentateuch, or the 5 books of Moses, and it's basically they're about to enter the Promised Land, but Moses is not going to enter with them. So Moses
Okay, yeah.
speaks to them, and he repeats everything that happened. That's what Deuteronomy is, like a second telling of the law.
Okay.
That's a repetition of the law. And so he tells them everything that's happened, and these are the laws of God, so you get it all over again. but it's almost like Moses' last will and testament.
Okay, yeah.
And then he dies and he's buried on the side of Mount Nebo, and then the people go into the promised land under Joshua. And so some people said, well, this is probably just Deuteronomy. Maybe it might be the whole thing, but it's this is they found it because they lost it.
Right.
And they lost it because they weren't using it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's, under Manasseh and Ammon, like, they're not following the laws of God.
Right.
And, well, it's almost like, if I could, a parallel, I mean, we're Lutherans, so a parallel like this is almost like kind of like the Reformation. Like, you had, they certainly had their own, they had the legal system was operating, right? The Judah was operating as a legal entity with a legal system, and it was working, and it wasn't the way that God wanted it to be done.
Right.
But they were building off of previous things that had been done in the past, right?
Okay,
they weren't
yeah,
using
yeah.
they weren't using Moses, but the stuff that they were doing was based off of Moses, certainly, right?
Yeah.
And so it's almost to me it's kind of like Luther at the University of Wittenberg, and he says, hey, we're reading the scholastics from like the 12th century. Why don't we read the church fathers? Go back a little bit, right? And read from like the 4th, 5th centuries.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like, well, why don't we go back a little bit further and read from like Paul himself,
Right.
right? And to them, that wasn't necessarily something that they thought. For us, we take that for granted and we think it's obvious.
Right.
For them, it wasn't. Like, they would be fine reading, the 1 or 2 pages in the Rule of Benedict. For every single day.
Okay.
Right? What is the rule of, this is how we order our life, let's say in the monastery by the Rule of Benedict. So let's read a couple pages from that. And is
Okay,
it
right.
based off the Bible? Well, yeah, it's based off the Bible. But it's not the Bible itself, right?
Yeah.
And so here it's kind of like, I mean, that's the humanist move, ad fontes, back to the source. So here it's like, yeah, their legal system is operating. Certainly it's based off of the legal system of Moses. But they're kind of doing whatever they want to do.
Right.
I mean, even to the point where they're going after different gods, right?
Yeah, and they had different gods in the temple.
Yeah, that's right. Different gods
Yeah.
in the temple and all kinds of stuff. But it's still like the temple, right? And so Josiah is, when they find this book, it's in chapter or verse 8, and Hilkiah the high priest said to Shaphan the secretary, I have found the book of the law in the house of the Lord. And Hilkiah gave the book to Shaphan, and he read it, and Shaphan the secretary came to the king and reported to the king, your servants have emptied out the money that was found in the house and have delivered it into the hands of the workmen who have the oversight of the house of the Lord. Then Shaphan the secretary told the king, Hilkiah the priest has given me a book, and Shaphan read it before the king. When the king heard the words of the book of the law, he tore his clothes. And the king commended Hilkiah the priest, and Ahikam the son of Shaphan, and Achbor the son of Micaiah, and Shaphan the secretary, and Isaiah the king's servant, saying, Go inquire of the Lord for me, and for the people, and for all Judah, concerning the words of this book that has been found. For great is the wrath of the Lord that is kindled against us, because our fathers have not obeyed the words of this book to do according to all that is written concerning us. Okay, so Josiah, he's reigning from as a young kid,
Right.
and he's like, hey, we got to do some temple renovations, right? And then they uncover this book, and hey, this is actually how God wants us to be living here,
Right.
right? And he's like, hey, we should probably check this out and see what happens,
Yeah.
right? And then of course it unfolds what happens, right?
Yeah.
So,
And he was like,
yeah, right. Well, yeah, he didn't know.
Right.
I mean, how's he supposed to know?
Yeah.
No one told him, right?
So now, do you think? Well, I it's kind of up for grabs, I guess. Do you think that he kind of worshipped the other gods in the temple without even knowing, really?
I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Okay, yeah.
At first,
Right, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, it says Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign.
Yeah, so he was kind of like whatever his parents did. He did
Yeah, I mean, he's
at that
right.
point still.
So, he's not. He's probably not doing what he's supposed to be doing at the beginning.
Right.
But then, I think this is the kind of the turning point for him, and it happens. Well, in the 18th year of King Josiah. So I don't know. That's actually probably a good question because he doesn't reign. He only reigns 31 years, and if this happens in the 18th year, but they can say that he was right in the eyes of the Lord and walked in all the ways of David, his father.
And they said he didn't stray left or right. So
Right.
I don't know.
So yeah, maybe it's very possible that from the beginning he did just believe in
Right.
God. I don't know. That's
what I was gonna say. You probably couldn't even fully answer that. Like,
yeah, I
anybody.
probably couldn't really discern that.
So now go into down to 23, 8 verse 9.
20.
Or 8 through 9.
Yeah, 23 verses 8 and 9. Okay.
No, that wasn't it.
Well, that would be during his. So he makes the reforms. So Josiah does the reforms.
I think that might be. Oh no, okay. Yeah, let me read through a little bit. I'm in 22.
I mean, 21 is a kind of a big deal.
Did we not do 21?
I mean, verse 21.
Oh. At 22? Oh, there is no verse 21.
23, 21. I don't know if that's a.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Like if there
Okay,
was significance in the Passover feast being so
Well, yeah.
good.
Well, yeah. I think just following in 23 verse 1. The king went up to the house, or verse 2. The king went up to the house of the Lord, and with him all the men of Judah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the priests and the prophets and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their hearing all the words of the book of the covenant that had been found in the house of the Lord. So this is actually
in front of everybody.
In front of everybody. This is actually what Ezra does when the exiles return.
Okay.
Ezra reads from the Torah in front of everybody. And the king stood by the pillar and made a covenant before the Lord to walk after the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and all his soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people joined in the covenant. Okay. So you've got now this renewal of we are going to follow the covenant that God gave to us.
Right. And they don't seem mad to have their gods taken away, or they seem
apparently
happy
not
to join.
Well, maybe Josiah had a little bit of emotional intelligence and actually went about this in a way that was,
that's true.
thoughtful, and which is not a bad thing.
Right.
But it is interesting that we've already read. I mean, there's 25 chapters in 2 Kings, and so we've already read in chapter. Is it 20, or chapter 20, where Hezekiah, remember he allows the Babylonian envoys to come in and see all the stuff.
Yeah.
Right? See all the goods in the temple and everything. And what does God tell them? They're actually going to take it away from you.
Right.
But not you,
Yeah.
but your children. And I think that's interesting that you've read that, and then we have a couple of bad kings, right? Then that's when Manasseh reigns. And Amon reigns, and then they're both bad kings, and then Josiah reigns. And Josiah then brings about the reforms. Well, what does that mean about the Babylonians? The Babylonians are still going to come in.
Yeah.
So it's almost like at this point now, even with, you have this moment with Josiah where everything is positive.
Right.
They've found the book of the law, right? They are reorganizing themselves and reforming themselves.
Right.
and they've read it in front of everybody. You get to verse 21, 23, verse 21, and the king commanded all the people, keep the Passover to the Lord your God, as it is written in the book of the covenant. For no such Passover had been kept since the day of the judges who judged Israel, or during all the days of the kings of Israel or the kings of Judah. So, looks like the monarchy wasn't keeping the Passover.
Okay. So is that like the biggest thing?
Well,
would you say?
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, we haven't celebrated the Passover in what, 300 years, 400 years,
Goodness.
right? and I mean, I think it's almost like, this is, so was David not keeping the Passover?
Right.
I mean, the Passover, that's one of the biggest holidays that they have.
Right.
Right? I mean, you got Passover, you got the Feast of Weeks, which we call Pentecost. You've got you've got Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. So you got the New Year and the Day of Atonement. At the end, those come as like a couplet, and then at the very end, you've got the Feast of Booths. Those are the 5 big festivals.
Right. Okay.
So during the time of the whole monarchy, are they celebrating any of these?
It hasn't mentioned it.
Right?
At
Right?
all.
So yeah, I mean, this is kind of a big deal, right? And it's almost sad because it's like God has already pronounced this judgment on them.
Right.
He's already said, I'm going to bring the Babylonians in. They're going to destroy you. And even still, Josiah is saying, this is a
Right.
good thing to do.
It's like someone tied on train tracks, and you gotta run and untie them, and you're too late.
Right.
You're
Right.
still trying to untie them.
Yep. And I think you can even see here. Let's just read through his reforms, if you don't mind. Just
yeah.
this little
Yeah.
section here. Even, I mean, he's got more. There's a bigger section before this, but even this little section here. For no such Passover had been kept since the days of the judges who judged Israel, or during all the days of the kings of Israel or the kings of Judah. But in the 18th year of King Josiah, this Passover was kept to the Lord in Jerusalem. Moreover, Josiah put away the mediums and the necromancers and the household gods and the idols and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, that he might establish the words of the law that were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. Before him there was no king like him, who turned to the Lord with all his heart, and with all his soul, and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses, nor did any like him arise after him. Still the Lord did not turn from the burning of his great wrath, by which his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations with which Manasseh had provoked him. And the Lord said, I will remove Judah also out of my sight, as I have removed Israel, and I will cast off this city that I have chosen, Jerusalem, and the house of which I said, my name shall be there. Right? So
now is him saying, well, I mean, my version says, I will turn my back on this temple. Is that saying he's done with the old temple and moving to the new one, which in essence is Jesus?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can say that as
Okay,
Christians
yeah.
looking backward.
Oh, yeah.
But to them, it's like, I'm done.
Okay.
And so, now the rest of the acts of Josiah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up to the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates. King Josiah went to meet him, and Pharaoh Necho killed him at Megiddo as soon as he saw him. And his servants carried him dead in a chariot from Megiddo and brought him to Jerusalem and buried him in his own tomb. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him and made him king in his father's place.
So now why did Josiah go to fight Necho if he was going with the Assyrians?
Well, it's kind of confusing, right? Like, what was the purpose of Josiah going up to meet Necho? Right? So you've got this tension, this really big tension between Assyria and Egypt.
Right.
And that's always a major tension. And Assyria is basically that's the Asian power. Egypt is the African power.
Right.
And they have a very difficult time with each other because geographically it's very difficult to move from one continent to the other.
Right.
Right? I mean, you've got to go through the Sinai Peninsula, and like it's not an easy move. But both of them don't have that much trouble taking over Judah.
Okay, yeah.
Because I mean, really, Canaan for a long time was a part of Egypt.
Is that like the whole strip?
Yeah, that's like the whole section of like modern day Israel, Palestine,
Right.
all the way up to Turkey.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, yeah, even further north.
So yeah, like Lebanon, like the whole area.
Right.
Jordan, we would even today.
That's on the Mediterranean, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so that whole area, like Egypt, at certain times could manage to take that area,
Right.
but Assyria also could manage to take that area.
Okay.
And the other force that was really much more powerful. This is like the Iron Age, but much more powerful in the late Bronze Age was like the Hittites, who were in Turkey.
Yeah.
That also could have taken that area pretty easily.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it's right in the middle of all these different places, right?
Well, yeah, that's one of my questions was how far north and east did Egypt go at that time? Was it kind of like today, or a little? You don't know.
Well, no. It went further south than today, and at some point you get into Nubia and Kush,
Okay.
which is like modern day Ethiopia.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I don't know how far west it went, but it did. There were times where it would take like the Sinai Peninsula and Canaan,
Okay.
and sometimes
right.
where it didn't.
Yeah.
And this is again where you see this is the kind of the geopolitical situation around them. They're stuck in the middle of it all.
Right.
They don't know what to do.
It's always been
There's
stuck in the middle of
Right.
everything.
That's right. There's always Jerusalem is right in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
And not only that, like if for a king, if you want to take your army from Egypt to Assyria or Assyria to Egypt, you're not going across the desert. You're going up the coastline, and you're
Right.
going through Israel.
Right.
So yeah, they're just in the middle of it all, and so they're brokering these like deals with them.
Right,
This is
yeah.
this is what the kings are trying to do throughout this whole thing. Instead of trusting in Yahweh, they try to make deals with Egypt and with Assyria,
Right.
and then with Babylon,
Right. Yeah.
right? And so I don't know exactly what the deal is. If Josiah, because I mean that's pretty high praise there, right? In verse 23, verse 25, before him there was no king like him who turned to the Lord with all his heart, with all his soul, with all his might, according to the law of Moses, nor did any like him arise after him. So what is Josiah doing getting mixed up in this geopolitical conflict between Assyria and Egypt?
Did he go to meet with
I don't know.
Pharaoh? Okay.
I don't know. But he
just
gets
sounded-
mixed up in it and he's killed on the spot.
Right.
And it's almost like, hey, there's a lesson to be learned there, right? Stay out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then you get his son comes in and he reigns, and he's a bad king.
Yeah.
And then we get Jehoiakim. And Jehoiakim is the last kind of tragic really like the last proper king of Judah.
Yeah.
There's going to be a couple others after him, but he's the last proper one.
Now, I was gonna ask. So Jehoaz was 23 years old when he became king. He ruled in Jerusalem for 3 months.
Yeah.
Then Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he became king.
Jehoiakim was 25.
Jehoiakim.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're
I'm
good.
sorry. Jehoiakim
I skipped
and
ahead, too.
Jehoiachin. All right. Yeah. There's our. So
Yeah.
they are different, slightly different. Yeah.
But yeah, so Jehoaz ruled for 3 months. Jehoiakim, with the K, ruled 11 years, and then Jehoiakim, with Chin, Jehoiakim.
I mean, like Jehoiachin. or
Oh
something.
yeah, yeah. He ruled for 3 months, and then someone else ruled after him for 11
Well,
years.
well, yeah. So that's when Jerusalem is captured.
Right, yeah, Zedekiah ruled for 11 years. So,
Right.
I mean, it's 11 years, or 3 months, 11 years, 3 months, 11 years.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about
I
that.
kind of caught my eye.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know if there's any kind of symbolism there.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's like, I'll see things like that and I'll think about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you know what? There's a term for that when you look into symbology of numbers. The Hebrew term is gematria.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
I actually don't know the literal definition of it. It's just their numbering system is not. They don't have a numbering system that's separate from the alphabet,
Okay.
right? So it's like Roman numerals don't either, right?
Right.
1 is I, right? 10 is X, and in Hebrew the 1 is Aleph, the 2 is Bet, right?
Okay,
They're just the
yeah.
letters of the alphabet,
Yeah.
and so every letter that means has a numerical value,
Right, yeah.
and to play with those is
Oh, okay,
called
yeah.
gematria.
Yeah.
Right. So So the Zedekiah. So after with Jehoiachin, he's 18. He reigns 3 months. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up to Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. Now, you have to think, this is not completely unrelated to the king of Egypt, or Pharaoh of Egypt, going up to Assyria, because Assyria was getting weaker at this time,
Okay.
right? And what happens is, so Babylon takes over Assyria,
All right.
and they start to march on the rest of the Assyrian Empire.
Is that before or after they take Jerusalem? Or kind of like in the middle of it?
Before who takes Jerusalem?
Babylon.
This is before Babylon takes Jerusalem. They take the cities of Assyria,
Okay.
because they're all out east,
Right.
Tigris
yeah.
and Euphrates rivers, right? So then they march their massive army west, right? And they take the rest. They take the rest of the Assyrian Empire.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, that's because it says that's because the king of Babylon had taken so much territory, it reached from the Wadi of Egypt all the way to the Euphrates. That's what made me think about how big Egypt was.
Oh, I see. All belong to the king. For the brook, right? Yeah. Well, okay. So from that perspective, when they say the Euphrates, they're probably meaning the Mediterranean coastline,
Okay.
because the Euphrates River goes up the, it goes up into the continent, and then it turns a little bit and goes toward Turkey.
Okay, yeah.
Right, and so Egypt is not. I don't think Egypt has all that land between the Mediterranean and the Euphrates. It's like at this point, Judah is probably viewed as a part of Egypt.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that. Now I had one from 23 whenever let's see.
Verse 23.
Yes.
Okay.
Josiah destroyed the entrance of the gate of Joshua. Is that anything? Chapter 8 or verse 8.
Okay, 23 verse 8.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's see. 23 verse 8. All right. And he brought out the Asherah from the house of the Lord. Gosh, that's verse 6. That's the Asherah pole, which is in the temple, outside Jerusalem, to the brook Kidron. That's like the Kidron Valley, and burned it at the brook Kidron, and beat it to dust, and cast the dust out upon the graves of the common people. And he broke down the houses of the male cult prostitutes who were in the house of the Lord. So they've got the Asherah poles,
Right.
and then they've got male cult prostitutes.
Is that how you worship Asherah? Is with the prostitutes?
Yeah.
That is.
Well, that
that's
was
crazy.
actually not an uncommon thing. You even see this in the story of Judah and Tamar, where Tamar dresses up like a cult prostitute.
Okay.
For this religious culture, having sex with a prostitute was seen as a pious religious act.
Pious.
Like,
I know I've heard that word before, but I can't.
well, yeah, I mean,
think of it.
you're not your mind is probably not going to it very very quickly because pious is actually a good thing,
Okay.
right? And so someone who is, when we talk about someone who's pious, someone who prays, someone who reads their Bible, someone who goes to church,
Right.
in their religious culture, visiting a prostitute was seen as a pious religious act.
Okay.
Right? So
Yeah.
like we can't even like fathom
Right.
like the
Yeah.
like the differences here. Like sometimes you don't realize there are major religious differences.
Yeah.
And
I've noticed that reading it.
with extreme moral implications, right? And so they've got male cult prostitutes who were in the house of the Lord, where the woman wove hangings for the Asherah. And so you have to think like, all right, so if you were to just think about it like from a distance, okay, which we are from a distance here, and so we don't, but or think, okay, so Asherah is like a fertility goddess,
Right.
and ancient religions, I mean, Christianity's ancient, Israelite religion's ancient, but like Canaanite religions and other ancient religions, they have gods and goddesses that are fertility gods and goddesses.
Right.
All right, so you have to think it follows then, how do you worship a fertility goddess?
That's
Right?
fair, yeah.
That's, I mean,
Well, and also, even in the Bible, it says women are safe through childbearing.
yeah, well
Does that
well, that's
play a role or not role tied to that?
No, it's real different. No, because but see, I think in the Bible you get a very different picture. You get a proper understanding
Yeah.
of the relationship between men and women, right? And so even like in you read through all these the patriarchs and the kings, and Abraham's got 4 wives, David's got a bunch of wives, Solomon's got 1,000 wives, literally, right?
Yeah.
And but you never see the Bible say, well, that's really a good thing.
Right.
You never see that. No, when you see marriage established, it's a man and a woman, right? And Jesus goes back to this too, right? They go back to Genesis chapter 2. And so what you see in these, like what you're talking about is like there's a promise made in Genesis 3 that like to the woman that her offspring would basically overcome Satan.
Right.
Okay? And that's what's being, and the reference you made is from 1 Timothy, right?
Yeah.
That, and so that's what's happening there. It doesn't mean that a woman by having a child is therefore somehow justified before God.
Well, no, I wasn't saying that. I was just saying, because you were saying they worship the fertility goddess or
Yeah.
whatnot, and it's not really in the same sense, but how, well, I don't know how I was trying to put that. I guess I was thinking of that verse in a different way. 'Cause
Okay.
I wasn't thinking of it like Eve's offspring will overcome Satan. That's not what I was thinking of
Okay.
when I said that. So yeah,
Okay.
I guess
Well-
just as
Well, so, but it does show you that, like, they've got, like, all of creation, even when it comes to understanding how men and women relate to each other, they've got it all out of whack.
right. Okay.
They've got all out of whack here, right? And so to the point where and you see this, I mean, it's not just Canaanite religions that have cult prostitutes.
It's all over.
Well, yeah, you see it in Rome, you see it in Greece, you
Okay,
see it,
yeah.
right? I mean, you see it everywhere. And so even like the Asherah pole, like, we're not going to get into like what that actually is,
Right.
Right? I mean,
I can only assume.
it's not. So I mean, this is like, there's a reason like you're not going to see this in like a children's
Right.
Bible, right? I mean, it's
Right.
not. And so keep going. He broke down the houses of the male cult prostitutes, which, I mean, just a shocking thing that it's even there, right? Who were in the house of the Lord, where the women wove hangings for the Asherah. So it's basically the idol is a pole to Asherah.
Right.
Okay, a phallic pole to Asherah, And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah and defiled the high places where the priests had made offerings from Geba to Beersheba. And he broke down the high places of the gates that were at the entrance of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were on one's left at the gate of the city. So this is just like, that's just one of the area of the high places.
Okay.
It's not like I don't think it's a reference to like Joshua, like the,
No, I thought it was just
successor
like
to Moses or something.
I thought it was well, yeah, okay. So it says it's on the left side of Jerusalem city gate. I kind of thought it was like, well, is it a city gate, or is it just like a place to get to the high places?
Entrance
in
to the
that
gate
way.
of. I think it's probably a city gate. I don't know. I read it that way, but I don't know. That's something I really thought about.
Yeah. Oh, well, and then also it said they ate unleavened bread. Is there any?
Well, yeah, because they think. I think I don't know if that's, to me, that's kind of struck me as a connection to the Passover they're about to celebrate.
Okay.
So, but no, I mean, Josiah is like, he says, we're done with all this stuff. Like, this
Right.
is terrible. What they were doing in the temple was terrible. Sometimes I think people don't realize that when the temple was built, it was desecrated within the first generation.
Right.
Right. Solomon built it, and he also just, the stuff that was going on there, even when Solomon was king, is terrible.
Right.
And as time goes on, like, it would be interesting to count of the years of the first temple when it was built to when it's destroyed. Right? So it's built in, like, I don't know, when it, I don't have the date of it, 970, let's say, BC, something
Yeah.
like that. All right, so it's built and it's destroyed in 586.
Okay.
So over the course of 400 years, how many of those years was there actually proper temple worship that is real pious, actual pious worship to Yahweh? And it would be interesting to put that on a,
Yeah.
put that up, compare the two, put those numbers up, and see how many years you had actual good, pious worship to Yahweh versus this crazy,
Right.
wacko nonsense that
Well,
Josiah is cleaning up.
I mean, it's like it's 13 with Josiah, and then however many with Solomon, like 20 maybe, because he didn't start. Well, I don't know.
It didn't start that way, but even like to our conversation before, right? About
There's other, yeah.
Well, all right, we started talking about he was he's 8 years old. He began to reign. He reigned for 31 years. We see he's killed by the king of Egypt, right? And it's after year 18 he decides to renovate the temple, and they find the book.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so now at year 18 this is all going on.
Right.
So 18 years of his reign.
Yeah.
He did have, I guess he did have, I'm thinking about that before, but he did have prostitutes and Asherah poles
Right.
and all the high places and
Yeah, so that's like 300, at least 350 years.
right,
of
yeah.
Bad.
Well, yeah,
bad worship.
that's like what it's like. I mean, but then he's got his reforms. Hezekiah had his reforms. You
Yeah.
did have some good kings, right? So yeah, it would be interesting to count those numbers up and see what the numbers actually were.
Yeah.
And then God destroys it. It's like God didn't even want it to be built in the first place.
Right.
Right. And so it's like, all right, what? And then he sends the exiles back, and they rebuild it. And then it's not it's not the same kinds of things.
Right.
Right. But they are completely corrupt even by the time Malachi is writing. The priests are completely
yeah,
corrupt.
yeah.
And then you get to the time of Jesus. Right, I mean, you had some things cleaned up. Let me see, under the Maccabees and other stuff. But by the time of Jesus, he walks in and he's like, "What is this?" Like, I don't
Yeah.
even, this isn't even recognizable to me.
Right.
To the point that he's sitting there on the Mount of Olives the week before he's killed, and he's saying, "Not one stone is going to be left standing on another." Right, it's all going to be destroyed.
Right.
And so, and the way that John interprets this is he has Jesus saying, and this temple is going to be destroyed, and in 3 days I will raise it up, and he's talking about his own body,
Right.
and it's like, all right, at the end of the day, God doesn't need this temple.
Right.
He really doesn't have a whole lot of use for this temple.
Well, and I've like seen people, and that like they'll talk about Jesus didn't have to. He didn't even have to say a word if he could have lived his life, and if you lived like Jesus, that's like the message. That kind of makes sense.
Well,
But
yeah.
not literally, but like in a way.
I mean, his life represented what he was saying about the kingdom.
Right.
His life was completely in line with everything he said about the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
Right. So in that sense, yeah. But he's saying, look, there's a new kingdom that's here.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So yeah. This is going to be the end of this first temple. But again, it has one last hurrah of actually being decent.
A nice Passover.
Right. Yeah, nice right. Yeah, on the eve of its destruction, we're gonna start doing it all the way it was supposed to be done for the last 400 years, right? For 600 years, So
the night before the Babylonians.
So then of course that's what happens with I don't know what other questions you have.
Well, reading into 25, all I really had about that was why the king of Babylon favored Jehoiakim after, like, it was Nebuchadnezzar's son, I think.
Yeah. What verse do you have there?
27.
Okay.
25 verse
well,
27.
he let's actually go up to verse 22.
Okay.
Okay, so the Babylonian army comes in, and they destroy everything. They don't even have the Judahites don't even have a shot.
Right.
Right. It's like not even. And over the people who remained in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had left, he appointed Gedaliah the son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, governor. Now when all the captains and their men heard the king of Babylon had appointed Gedaliah governor, they came with their men to Gedaliah at Mizpah, namely Ishmael the son of Nethaniah, and Johanan the son of Kareah, and Seriah the son of Tanhumeth, the Netophathite, and Jazaniah the son of Machathite. And Gedaliah swore to them and their men, saying, do not be afraid because of the Chaldean officials. Live in the land and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. But in the 7th month, Ishmael the son of Nethaniah, son of Elishama, of the royal family, came with 10 men and struck down Gedaliah and put him to death, along with the Jews and the Chaldeans who were with him at Mizpah. Then all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the forces arose and went to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldeans. All right, so you have a group of people that, you've got some disruption here. Notice the word Jew is used.
That I didn't see that in mine, but I heard.
What's used in yours?
It says the people of Judah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay, I'd have to. I don't have like Hebrew text
but
with me.
I did hear you say that.
That's a very late term. That really comes from Greek. But a Jew or a Judahite it means the same thing, but one is an earlier Judahite would be an earlier form. All right. In the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 27th day of the month, yeah, that's right, yeah. Evil Merodach, king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, graciously freed Jehoiakim, king of Judah, from prison, and he spoke kindly to him and gave him a seat above the seats of the kings who were with him in Babylon. So Jehoiakim put off his prison garments, and every day of his life he dined regularly at the king's table. And for his allowance, a regular allowance was given him by the king according to his daily needs, as long as he lived. End of the book. Yeah. Right? So he gets... he goes into captivity, and it's actually pretty brutal. It's very brutal for him, and I'm trying to see where. I mean, with the interaction between the king of Judah and Nebuchadnezzar. It's a pretty brutal fight.
Yeah, they took apart the temple.
They took the temple
And
apart.
The army ran away, and they ended up chasing down the army and killing most of the army.
Right, and not only that, what does he do to the king's sons?
Kills them in front of him.
Kills him in front of him, and what does he do to the king?
Pokes his eyes out.
Takes his eyes out.
Yeah.
Right. So he's living a, what verse is that? I'm trying to.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, yeah. So right. He.
At the beginning. 6.
Is it 6?
The king was captured.
Okay, all right. Yeah, then they captured the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon at Riblah, and they passed sentence on him. They slaughtered the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him in chains, and took him to Babylon. Okay, so sorry, that's Zedekiah.
Oh, okay.
All right, that's but yeah, I mean, the whole point is like it was brutal, and then they have Jehoiakim, who's then imprisoned. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just brutal act,
yeah.
Right? And they come in, they destroy Jerusalem, they destroy the temple, they take the monarchy in exile, they take the people in exile, and now they're in Babylon.
Right.
And that's the end of 2 Kings.
Okay, and then you said something about it said Jew in there. Is that significant?
That's a late term.
Right, so it's kind of like...
It kind of makes me think that maybe there was that it was edited afterward or something.
Okay, yeah. Because that was making me think, because they're leaving Israel now, kind of using the word Jew is kind of like a turning point almost.
Well, but Jew is really it's really like a Greek or Persian term for someone who lives in the province of Judea.
Okay.
And Judea is Judah.
Right.
It's just kind of new Judah. It's the it's the same place.
Like up until like World War II, wasn't it still considered Judea?
No, well, yeah, but that's like way later. This is I'm talking like there's the kingdom of Judah,
right?
And now here is the end of the kingdom of Judah, right? We just read the end of the kingdom of Judah, and now it's a province of Babylon,
right?
And then it's going to be a province of Persia, and then it's going to be a province of Greece, but really like the Seleucid Empire and the Ptolemaic Empire, which are
Egypt.
Yeah, well, like they're Greek Egyptians and Greek Persians.
Is that Alexander the Great?
Alexander the Great conquered that area, and then it was divided among his generals, Seleucus and Ptolemy.
Okay, yeah.
Right? And so Ptolemy's in Egypt, Seleucus is in Persia, and then, of course, their successors fight over Judea. So it's Judea by
once again.
So there's a difference between the province of Judea under these empires versus the Judahite kingdom.
Okay.
The kingdom of Judah it's gotten a lot smaller, and it really is kind of a part of Assyria or a part of Egypt, but there's still a king in Jerusalem, right? Yeah, there's still a sovereign city in some sense, right? But that's put to an end with the Babylonians.
Okay.
Right, and now it's just going to be a region that is, again, like a territory that is not a free territory, that is going to be governed by, it might be governed by people living there,
right? But
it's going to be either part of the Persian Empire, the Egyptian Empire, the Greek Empire, the Roman Republic eventually is going to take it over, and then Rome is going to become an empire. So now it's part of the Roman Empire,
yeah,
right? And then on and on and on, right?
Okay.
So that's what Judea is.
Right.
So by the time of Jesus, there's this sense, there's a king ruling, really kind of a Roman king, but there's also a Roman governor.
Yeah. And
okay.
Is that Herod? No,
Herod.
Okay.
Well, Herod's like kind of the half Rome. He's like the he's the king, but he's really taken orders from Rome.
Right. Yeah.
And then by the time of Jesus, the name of the Roman governor is Pontius Pilate.
Right.
And then Herod's sons are kind of ruling his kingdom. And that's what.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the Herod that you see at the end of Jesus' ministry is Herod Antipas, right, who's ruling the Galilee area of his father's kingdom. And then, of course, he has to interact with Pontius Pilate, who's actually the Roman governor of the territory.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a